Okay, I have a really, really important question. How many of you, raise your hands, if you're going to be watching the final season of Game of Thrones this weekend? Very important. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, you may not catch this a little bit of a joke, but for those of you who do know, tell your friend next to you who doesn't know what this means. So in Game of Thrones, they talk about winter is coming. So what I want to tell you is the social employee is coming. And they are coming, and they're actually kind of already here. Just like in Game of Thrones, winter is pretty much already here. The social employee is already here. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what that means from an HR perspective. But before I do that, let's talk about life. Okay, so your life. How many of you used Spot Hero when you came downtown? Okay. How many used Uber? How many have been on a flight recently and used your app to check in, change your flight, change your seats, see if you get upgraded? Okay, how many of you have gone on to Open Table? All right, so you're kind of catching the drift. Anybody use Peapod? One, okay, good. Peapod, I mean, with Amazon having delivery, how many use Amazon delivery? Okay, that's what I thought. Before Amazon delivery, Peapod was like the thing. So you think about what's happened in your life. Your life experience is digital. Every touch point is digital. If you want to go for a run in a new city, what do you go to? Anybody? Map My Run? No runners in here? Huh? Or no runners that like friends to run with, stranger friends? Okay, I get it. It's kind of stranger danger kind of thing. It totally makes sense. But you think about like everything you do is digital, but yet you come to work and you have to fill out a form, right? Or you have to send an all company email, and Lord knows nobody's going to reply all to an all company email. If they do, they're on that list of like that person, they didn't know better. So I just want to like keep that fresh in your mind. When you think about the employee experience, I want you to think about your life experience, because I think sometimes we separate it and we expect that in life things are going to be digitized, but in work it's okay. Like it can be paper-based and it can be non-digital. But before I go into the social employee, how many of you know that there's actually still one Blockbuster standing? Can you believe it? It's crazy. It's holding on. And then there's Netflix. So if any of you have listened to the story of Netflix and Blockbuster, I think what's really interesting is it is about a business being disrupted by digital, but it's also a story of adapting. And this goes with the earlier story. It matches perfectly. It's about adapting. And what Blockbuster didn't do is adapt. They had the market. They had everything there. They could have adapted. But what Netflix did is they saw an opportunity and they saw late fees. Nobody likes paying late fees and nobody likes turning their stuff in on time or rewinding the videos or any of that stuff. So Netflix saw an opportunity and they jumped in and they digitized. However, they didn't stop there. They recognized that being able to get DVDs online was not going to be the end all be all. So then they eventually streamed the movies. And then they came out with their own Netflix series. I mean, how many of you Netflix binge watch? I mean, seriously, it's crazy to think about it. Netflix saw this and they kept adapting with it. So when I think about HR professionals and I think about our life is digitized. You think about business being disrupted. Are we as HR professionals pushing ourselves and pushing our organizations to recognize the difference in our demographics, that our employees are digitized? Sometimes we are and sometimes we aren't. So I want to talk to you about the social workforce. There is a big social workforce. We're already social, right? I remember the days, and this is actually not long ago. This might even be like 5 years ago, if even that long. When and don't raise your hand if your company has this policy today where you cannot use your phone, or you can't be on like social media, you can't be on Facebook or something like that during work. Okay, that's just not practical. People live their life on this. So instead of banning it, how do you leverage it? So here we go, it's working. So let's start with transparency. Why is the social enterprise and why are the social employees coming into place? One is transparency. There is an extreme expectation for transparency. Not only do employees want to have their opinion heard, but they actually also want to be in the know. They want to know what's going on. It's not a very weird request for them to have this, but it's very expected. So you think about Amazon. How many of you buy something without checking out a review first? Right? Like you're going to look on there and you're like, I just want to make sure like my size and am I ordering the right thing and did other people like it and was the material okay? Like you want to actually crowdsource and know what other people are thinking. And it's the same way with people actually wanting to be in the know. They want to know what's going on. We're also in the opinion culture. Everybody wants to give their opinion. This fascinates me. The number of people that actually, and you probably, some of you are in the room, who will write a review because you want to help out your fellow people. Like you're just like, I need to let someone know that this size 7 is actually a closer size 7.5. I just need you to know that. Make sure you know when you buy it. Or that this restaurant, the service was poor, but the food was great, and don't forget to get the quesadillas. They're awesome. Like I'm actually really fascinated by people who do that, but they're doing it to help their fellow people because we are in the opinion culture. You feel relevant and you feel heard in a vast society where there's so many things going on. How is that any different than work? Like, why should that be any different than work? But it is. The other thing is the non-traditional workplace and the non-traditional workforce. Like, people can work anywhere. How many of you have remote workers? A lot of people. It looks like 2/3 have remote workers, and that's only going to go up. It's going to go up more and more. At our company, we have a talent anywhere philosophy, which means we go to where the talent is because we don't want to lose out on the opportunity, and we adapt our working environment so that we can do that. This is going to be the norm, not the exception. So when you think about that again, you've got the social employee, you've got transparency as a big need, and people working remotely, non-traditional workplaces. How do you accommodate and how do you adjust? So the thing I would put out to you is embrace what's been happening. Think about Blockbuster and Netflix. And for you, how do you not be the Netflix? How do you not, or not Netflix, but how do you not be that? How do you look at your practices, change your practices, adapt your practices so that you can actually drive a more socially engaged workforce? How do you look to some of the examples of what people are doing out there? So how can you figure out, how do I actually engage my workforce? So I think about an email distribution list. Oh my God, it makes me like actually break out in hives thinking about keeping, how many of you have to keep track of an email distribution list? Oh, it's painful. Someone leaves, someone transfers, someone gets hired, like actually maintaining an email distribution list. And then if you want to get the message out, I actually was just having a conversation not too long ago with a former colleague about manager meeting in a box. They have a meeting in a box, and what they do is because they need to cascade the information down from leadership to management to employee. And the question is, why exactly do you have to do this cascading? When you think about the social employee, they expect to actually talk back to you. Like they actually want to interact. You put a message out there, they want to tell you if they like that message or if they don't like that message. But if you're doing email the traditional way and you're not engaging with the social employee, it's a one-way communication. So think to the future and think about what are my practices today that I need to evolve, not change or just put into a new process or a new product, but I need to evolve because they're no longer relevant. Technology makes them irrelevant. And then finally, race towards the future. That's all I got. Any questions?